one of the questions we get asked is that how many times can you use MoTubes? Well, I'm going to demonstrate this to you with this strip that I have. So let's say if this is a strip of MoTubes, and the first time that we wrap it is this number 1 will be against the concrete. So we make a tube like this. And once this tube is done and you cast your concrete in there and you remove it, then you can clean it and use it many, many times with that side of it being the leading edge. Then once this portion of the laminate is scratched, then you can start with this portion too and wrap it in this direction. So now that clean surface 2 will be the inner surface against the concrete, and you can use that many times. And then once this face is done, after many, many applications, you can flip it over, and now you have the leading edge could be either part 3 or part 4. So if you take care of this product, as many times as you can get to use one end of it, you can multiply it by a factor of 4, and that's how many times you'll get to use one of the strips. And of course, if necessary, later on you can cut a piece of it, and then the balance of it could be used for a different diameter as well. One of the questions we get asked about is that whether you need any external ties around MoTubes. You do not. And the only reason that you see after we typically wrap these about 3 times to create a tube. And then all you need to do is just put a simple tape, like here I'm using, just to hold this from unraveling. Other than that, when you fill this with concrete, the pressure of the concrete pushes these surfaces against each other. It increases the friction between the layers, and that friction by itself is sufficient to hold the tube in its shape. If you look at some of the field applications that we are showing here, we use a ribbon, like a few pieces of ribbon to provide that, to ensure that the section remains the same. In these tests that we are doing, we are using a packer or a balloon-like device which is inserted inside of this MoTubes, and then we are pressurizing it. We stop the pressure at 23 psi, which is more than the 21 psi pressure required by most codes such as ACI. Now you also notice that the ratchet straps that we have around this MoTube sample in the lab, it is loosely placed. These ratchet straps are not resisting any load. They're only there for a safety measure, and all we are using to hold that tube together, the ends of it, are a few pieces of those black tapes that you see in the video.
I don't think it's quite fully inflated yet. Well, 14. 16. 18.
We get to 21 psi, that's good enough for me according to the code.
20. Are we looks like we have contact on all sides?
Oh, we definitely have contact on all sides. We have contact on all sides of 10.
22.
22.
Yeah, and 23.